Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mark's Backyard Birds. Today, we're talking about one of the absolutely most common birds and most well-known birds in North America, but also one of the more misunderstood and things that maybe a bird that's taken for granted a lot. We're talking about the red-tailed hawk. So, if you've heard me do programs about hawks before, and you hear me talk about identifying hawks, and I break them into two major groups. We have the bird-eating hawks, which are the Coopers and Sharpshins and northern goshawks that are long-tailed, short, broader wings, and of course they are the ones that hunt your bird feeders, and they specialize in catching birds to eat. Now they also eat some small mammals and things like that. But the other group are known as the bootios. So you have the accipiters, which are the bird-eating hawks, and then the bootios, or buzzards, as they're known in the old world. And these guys are shorter tailed, broader winged, soar out in the open, perch on the highways and hunt the highway medians and stuff for small mammals. They're pretty much a mammal hunting hawk. Now, the star, and the most well-known of those, of course, is the red-tailed hawk. Let's bring him up. Yep, they are, like I said, they are widespread, incredibly widespread. For parts of the country, wherever you live in the country, you probably have a specific race of a red-tailed hawk, but in the lower 48, especially here in the heart of the country, we get all kind of races of red-tailed hawks. And I tell a story, and I was used to growing up with the eastern red-tailed hawks in North Carolina, and when I moved to the Midwest 30 some years ago, I kept slamming on the brakes because I was like, "Oh my God, what's that hawk?" And I'd pull over, and it'd just be a very dark red-tailed hawk. And again, it'd be a very light red-tailed hawk. And that's what we're going to cover today. We're going to show you some of these major subspecies or color forms of the red-tailed hawk. So first and foremost, I'm going to just show you how widespread they are. The range map, and this is from the red-tailed hawk study. That is a site you can visit. And this map, I mean, this is really busy. I'm sorry for that, but you can see from all the way up into Alaska, up in far northern Canada, all the way down into Central America. The red-tailed hawk occurs in one form or another. And this map, kind of the color shading, tells you where the different races typically breed. So, but know that in the winter months, these guys move down, and they're just a mishmash, especially here in the heart of the country, and you can't take anything for granted. So that's why we're going to talk about them and help you sort them out a little bit. And remember, when I do my red-tailed hawk programs or my Raptor programs for groups, I always tell people, if you see a large hawk sitting on the side of the road, up on a power line, on a power pole, sitting in a limb, and this time of year is a great time to see several of them driving down the interstates, because interstate highways, they make perfect hunting grounds for these guys. That short grass where they can see the mice and the rabbits and the rats, and they can fly down and catch their prey. And so highways, when you're traveling, I know we were talking about the day of the store, how when people travel for the holidays, and they love counting the hawks, and they try to beat their record from last year. How many hawks did we see this year? How many hawks did we see compared to last year? So they are entertaining. But by far the most common of the forms is the eastern. You can break hawk red tails down into three groups: dark forms, light forms, and intermediate forms. It's kind of an easier way to group them. The red tail eastern form is a light form. You can tell by you can see on their belly that they're lighter in color, and they have different degrees of a belly band across there. Some of them have a pretty dark belly band, some have a very faint belly band, and some have no belly band at all. I'm talking to you guys down in Texas and that Southwest, where the Fuertes form, it looks like stark white on their belly. So it varies a lot. But look at their arms and their wrist up here, up on top. You see that really dark marking up there? That's really characteristic of a red-tailed hawk, and that's called the pterygial mark, and some have darker, broader ones, some have smaller ones, but that is a really good identifying field mark to look for in red tails when they're soaring. You can't see it obviously when their wings are folded. Many of them have this dark, beautiful red tail, like the upper left picture, and that, of course, when we're watching a hawk that's soaring and the sun angle is a little different on it, and we're watching it, and it's like, and I think it's red tail, and then boom, they'll tilt, so you get to see that red tail, and you go, oh yeah, that's a red tail. So we get a lot of really light ones here in the Midwest. We also range all the way to the eastern coast, where we're going to look at some of the other races like the ones out west here in just a second. But one thing I definitely want to show you is an immature eastern form. And you see how immature birds, and this is true of western forms too, they have stripes in their tail. They're pretty much their first year until they mold into that beautiful deep red tail on them. So it is reddish, it's rufous, but it also has those dark lines through it, and that's a really quick way to be able to count them and know that they are an immature bird. Now, one thing I want to do, of course, is play you the sound, which can alert you to their presence. And boy, there's no mistake, and you're walking along, and boy, you hear one of these call above you. And I use the Cornell lab of ornithology recording via Sibley, the Sibley app, and so play this for you. Very characteristic scream there. And boy, like I said, that travels really well. And you can't not look up when you hear that over your head. It's a very loud squeal or screech, if you will. So, and of course, the amateurs make it too, as well as the adults. So we had the adult eastern form, and then these are immatures, and then really from here, Midwest to the West Coast, we have the western form of red tails, and again, they are very rufous colored. They're beautiful birds. I think they have that rich rufous chest to them, and their tails again are red. Like what we're used to. They're usually so dark it's maybe harder to see a belly band on them, but they have it as well. But these are going to be far to the west, and we get these in winter. Not nearly as numerous as we do out in the eastern form, but we had this bird that all these pictures are of. Used to be out really close to where I lived for several years, and Mary got these shots one year. They just perched up right there in the open, and she got some beautiful shots of this bird. So they call it the Rufous form. They call it the western form, but this is also a red-tailed hawk, and you guys out west can appreciate this bird because this is probably the one you see the most. And they also throughout in that map, the original ones, the upper Midwest, they have what are known as Krider's red tails, and these are very light birds, and they have a lot of white on their heads, which is unusual for the other forms of the red-tailed hawk. It is a very light red tail. And you can see this one is an immature because it's got stripes in the tail, right? So a Krider's red tail. And then we have very, very dark forms. And they've been known for years as Harlan's red tails. And this is, almost a completely black red-tailed hawk. And of course, again, you can't see the vestigial lines or the belly band in these because they're all over dark color. But they occur mainly, these birds are mainly from the Northwest up toward in Alaska and Northwest Canada. But again, they nest there, but they come down in winter here in the heart of the country and in the western part of the country as well. So fascinating bird, but they're beautiful. So don't let them confuse you. They will, but you can really rest assured they're red tails. And then I showed this slide my last live that I did, showing you the many forms on there. These are all red-tailed hawks, and the one down at the bottom left is a leucistic bird. We know about albino birds that have no pigment in their feathers, but leucistic or leucism, it means lack of pigment. And this is a leucistic red tail in which is lacking a lot of pigment. But so you can see the dark feathers that mixed in. So you know that's not an albino. But we see these leucistic birds from time to time. I remember years ago we had one called in at the nature center where I worked, and they thought they had a snowy owl. So we drove out to the site they described. We found it, and it was a leucistic red tail up in a tree like this. Looked very much like this bird. Not the same one, but they look like that. They're fascinating birds, and of course their nesting behavior. They do nest throughout all across the continent. So they build big stick nests, and they will line them with pine needles or softer material. The female does a lot of the cup shaping of the nest, but they both contribute in bringing sticks. And they will use nests from previous years. They may or may not. They're very sensitive in their nesting and nest site location. If they get disturbed early in the nesting process, they will abandon the nest, and then they'll go build another one somewhere else. And if humans get close to their nest, things like that, they can be run off from the nest. So please don't approach a red-tailed hawk nest if you see it. They hear people call them chicken hawks, and yeah, that's a very common name for a chicken hawk. And people will be afraid of them, that they're going to eat their chickens. Well, yes, while I said they are mammal eaters, and they don't chase birds down. Well, chickens don't act like birds. Chickens walk around out in the open, and to them, that's just the same as landing on a rabbit. So yes, they will take chickens that are free roaming around, and if they can, that's a meal to them, and they don't know any better for sure that they're your pets. But they usually lay 2 to 3 eggs, and this is a hawklet in the nest here. 2 to 3 eggs. Takes about 30 days, about a month for incubation, and then another 30 days for them to fledge the nest. So a whole good 2-month process. But typically, they only have one brood a year. Like I said, they will renest if disturbed and destroyed, but they only have one brood of 2 to 3 a year. So red-tailed hawks are fascinating creatures, and they are very important parts of our environment. They help control mice populations and rat populations and small rodents. That they'll eat snakes. They eat all kinds of animals that, again, predators as a whole are typically misunderstood, but they're very, very important parts. And they eat your squirrels in your backyard. They're not going to catch a chickadee. They're not, and they're not. They're not really going to catch like even doves. I mean, they may, but that's not common. They mainly eat squirrels and rats and mice and rabbits and small mammals. So important parts of our environment. And I hope that you get appreciation for just the many color forms that are going to give a second look. Know that you're a big hawk on the highway, and you're probably looking at a red tail. There are others that occur, but the greater percentage of them are going to be red-tailed hawks. So it's a great idea for a program, great species to profile. Thank you so much for the suggestion. If you like the program, please give us a like, give us a share. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to ring the bell so you know when I'm on next. Send out ideas for future programs. And until the next time, let's talk birds.